Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Hall. You may call me Dr. Kennard, and this is the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. I hope everyone's doing well. Those of you who are on Twitter, those of you who are on Facebook, good morning to you. And of course, you on the YouTubes, too. We have, starting off with a positive story, a rare story, an excellent story. And then we're going to go to the, I can't believe this is still happening type of story. And then the third news story we're going to be covering is like, that sounds right. That sounds like something that should happen. So we're going to go with positive story. I can't believe this is happening. It's still going on now. And then finish off with, that sounds right. First true tale regards this man, Andrew Pugh. Now, what's remarkable, Andrew Pugh, isn't the fact that, what's remarkable about him? He changed his freaking mind. He changed his mind. And you see a lot of skeptics. You see everyday people, right? It's like, sure, I've changed my mind. I think the last time I changed my mind was maybe 10 or 20 years ago about something. I don't really remember, but Andrew Pugh didn't believe in vaccines. Well, I can't say that because we want to be prudent with our language, being skeptics and humanists. He was afraid of getting the jab. He was afraid of getting the COVID-19 vaccine. He has varicose veins. He, quote unquote, read things on Facebook. So he never got the vaccine. And then he came down with coronavirus. The thing, now some of you may say, wow, he changed his mind after he got coronavirus. That is also remarkable, my friends, because we've seen on the show time and time again, people who were anti-COVID-19 vaccine, got COVID, and they never changed their opinion. Even on their deathbed, they were still anti-vaxxers. They were still QAnon supporters. They were still big MAGA people. Andrew Pugh is different, though. Just an everyday guy who was afraid of getting the vaccine because of misinformation. And, well, let's just get to the story, all right? Check it out. Links in the description below, folks. An anti-vaxxer who begged people not to make the same mistakes as him after he almost died of COVID has celebrated coming home by getting jabbed. That is, getting the vaccine. Andrew Pugh, 52, initially refused to get the vaccine after being taken in by conspiracy theories he read on Facebook. The popular bin man who bragged about being a hero for not being jabbed despite his partner of 20 years begging him to take the virus seriously. The father of three finally realized the severity of it when he was struck down last month after he started struggling for breath. He was rushed to Royal Worcestershire? We'll go with Worcestershire Hospital's intensive care unit on December 5th, and his family warned he had a 50-50 chance of survival. When he was in the hospital, he posted poignant videos on Facebook describing his battle with the virus. After 6 weeks, Mr. Pugh has finally returned home to Worcester and said he was thrilled finally to get vaccinated. There's a great video put out by the hospital in Worcestershire. I don't know. It's one of those Brit words, right? We have Worcester here in Massachusetts, the city of Worcester. But is it like the sauce? I don't know, everyone. But what's the fantastic story is that Andrew Pugh has been out there just telling people, you got to get the jab. I was like you, talking to anti-vaxxers. He's like, I was like you at one point, and now I've done a 180 on the vaccine. He said, I got released from hospital, and the very first thing I did was have my jab. It's a huge relief to have the jab. I don't want anyone else to go through what I have put my family through. If I had my time again, I would definitely have had the vaccine as soon as it was available. Despite being vaccinated, Mr. Pugh faces a grueling road ahead as he battles long COVID. He added, every day is a struggle. It still takes my breath away. Since being home, I've had to learn breathing techniques to help to everyday tasks. You really have to calm yourself down. Even walking up the stairs is still a massive challenge for me. The doctors did tell me it could around 4 to 6 weeks before I start feeling better. Job well done, Andrew Pugh. Everyone makes mistakes, right, in their lives. Everyone makes bad choices. It takes a certain level of maturity and adult to say, this is the thing I did wrong. This is what I would change. This is the life lesson that I've learned that I want to pass along to you so that you don't make the same mistake as me. And we have covered this story, this type of tale, how to change people's opinions. This is what is used in counterinsurgency techniques. You take people who realize from the other side, who know that they've done something wrong, they've changed their minds about it, and then you put them back into their clique, into their societal group to help change minds and hearts. This is the way it's done, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well this morning. And check out the chat. If you're on Twitter and watching for the first time, if you're on the Facebook group, Atheist Comedy Burrito, and you're watching for the first time, you'll see that I'm talking to the chat. I can only see people in the chat if you're on YouTube. So good morning, everyone. Chris Black acting. Well, they are infectors. That's a good point. Phil, listen, the reason why not only do I feel for Andrew Pugh, right? Because he's changed his mind, a difficult thing to do for our species. And he's talking publicly about it. He was just an everyday guy. He didn't have a huge platform. He didn't know any better. He wasn't a con man. The man's tale really, I saw a couple of videos about him. I saw a video, like I said, from the Worcestershire Royal Hospital, and the man communicates well his story, and that's all you have to do. You don't need to know an incredible amount of facts to argue your point. What you need to do is be able to tell your story, and for most people, everyday people, that's far more important than just throwing fact after fact after fact. It's just being able to tell your story effectively. Good morning, John Christian. I hope you're doing well. Jessi Bear, always a pleasure. Chris Black acting, that's Chris Mallard to everyone else. The man previously known as Chris Mallard. Was watching Oz, but I feel comfortable here. Well, good for you, John Hudson. Jessi Bear, Jess M, Scott Duke, glad to see. Yeah, spank the like button, everyone. Spank the like we're doing the Lord's work here, right? I think Dee Parks, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Did you see my little satirical piece this morning? I put a link to it in the chat. I think it was the second chat comment in the chat. It's all about that Djokovic guy. I thought it was pretty funny. A couple of other people think too. Blazing Worcestershire. Oh, the kitchen makes a great sauce, indeed. Let's see. Blazing says English is it's a difficult language. English is a difficult language. And people who come to Massachusetts, where we have cities like Worcester and other odd spelling, odd sounding names, that even some of the locals get it wrong. Caress that like button. Well, thank you. All right. Ian Davenport, good to see you. All right, so everyone, I promised that the first story would be a good story, a positive story, and then the next story would be the I can't believe this is a thing. I can't believe this is, well, maybe you can, because maybe you're a little bit more cynical than I am. But let's do it. Leominster. Yes, the girlfriend, not originally from this area. Leo Minster? No, it's Leominster, right? All right, next story. Alabama still has a combined Martin Luther King, Robert E. Lee holiday. For those of you in the States, you probably all know that Martin Luther King Day was yesterday. But in Alabama, yes, I'm going to just keep this up here just so that your eyes, so that you can just take in the horror. Alabama still has a combined Martin Luther King, Robert E. Lee holiday. Oh my. Just when you think the worst state is Florida, with that DeSantis fellow being the governor, or Texas with Greg Abbott, Alabama comes up from behind. Alabama's like, hey, hold up. I don't think you understand how bad we are either. Links in the description, folks. Alabama has 3 state. Oh, geez, it just gets worse. It just gets worse. Alabama has 3 state holidays dedicated to the Confederacy: King Lee Day, Confederate Memorial Day, and the birthday of Confederate President Jefferson Davis in June. He wasn't even from Alabama, but they still think they should celebrate his day. The first holiday of the year honors Confederate General Robert E. Lee, and in 2022 is commemorated on Monday, January 7th. And as it has done for decades, Alabama combines the Lee holiday with that honoring slain civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. Wow. If you're in a Commonwealth country right now, if you're not here in the States, maybe even if you are here in the States, you're like going, is that really true? It is really true. Alabama and Mississippi have commemorated Lee's birthday since the late 1800s and King since 1983. Just when you think it's just worse, the story just gets worse. Previous efforts to end the joint holiday, including one that would give Lee his own day in October, have failed in the Alabama legislature. Southern states began celebrating days honoring Lee and other Confederate leaders shortly after the Civil War. Lee was born on January 19, 1807 in Virginia and died in October 12, 1870. King was born on January 15, 1929. Efforts to designate a holiday for King began shortly after his assassination on April 4, 1968. Here it comes. It took until 1983 for Congress to pass the measure, with the first official MLK Day observed on the 3rd of Monday in January 1986, but only recognized in 27 states. It was officially observed in all 50 states for the first time in 2000. Yes, everyone. The man was assassinated in 1968, and in only the year 2000, every single state. And that was because of pressure, too, by the way. That was because of pressure on those holdout states, that they actually were made to acknowledge Martin Luther King Day. Alabama. Shame, eternal shame, nothing but shame. 420 Atheist just came at the worst. I mean, this isn't the worst part of the show, but this is probably the most, like I said, I cannot believe this is true story of the show. Scottsdale on fire from downtown. Notice how they're sneakily declaring Lee as a king. Indeed, Scott Duke. Well said. Well said. Only 12 likes? Is that a crime? I think that might be a crime. Tesla Ranger, always good to see you. At least it's King Lee Day and not, yes, I feel that, Tesla Ranger. Okay, Blazing Wizard Pope, one of our reporters from Europe. In Europe, we also have a couple of atrocious holidays. St. John's Day, the day we burned a big fire to celebrate when they burned women at the stake for witchcraft. Blazing Wizard Pope, I like to think of myself as a person who is aware of all things atrocious, but I had not heard of that holiday. The day we burned a big fire to celebrate when we burned women on the stake for which, wow, that's horrible. That is a horrible day. Wow. You're right, Sean. 180 years later, and they can't get over the fact that they lost. Yes, I remember growing up hearing about, stories about people referring to the Civil War as the War of Northern Aggression. Yeah. I remember having an argument. Oh my, I cannot even, have you heard my Huck Finn story? Have you heard my Huck Finn story? If you haven't, maybe I'll tell it in the second show because it's a crazy story. We're already 15 minutes in. This show goes until 9:25, and then we do the open room at 9:30 to 10:30, where people come in, chat, do whatevs. The link to be in the panel is in the description below. Everyone, let's do a halftime tummy rub show because we need to take a breather, relax a little bit before we start off with the last story. Let's check out a cat.
Hello, welcome to the evening news. Our top story tonight, controversial indoor cat activist Baby Boo, as part of her mission to become an outdoor cat, has filed an official complaint against her person, alleging unlawful use of a tether. The harness is a cruel and demeaning form of cat torture and as such violates my rights, and I intend to pursue civil action against my person and the makers of these harnesses for the immense emotional damage they have caused me and other kitties like me. My legal team is still looking into whether this also represents a criminal violation. Thank you. The American Association of Indoor Cats, which has distanced itself from the controversial Boo in recent months, issued a statement excoriating the activist for, quote, endangering the health and safety of all indoor cats with her extremist position on harnesses and collars. In other news, referees had to stop a national patty cake competition this weekend when Olympic patty cake champs, the brother team Gary and Phil, broke out into a fight with each other. No word on what started the fight, but rumors of behind-the-scenes contract disagreements have plagued the brothers for months now. Thank you for joining us on Cat News Live. More news after the break.
I love cat news. I could watch cat news all day. It's probably better than CNN or Fox, to tell you the truth. All right. Checking out the chat one more time before we go back unto the breach. Little Henry V action there, everyone. All right. Yeah. Great. You know, there's a lot of I don't want to talk about comedy too much, but there are a lot of comedians who are decrying the end of comedy, right? Because their crappy jokes don't land anymore because they're out of touch with what goes on in society. But we are living in the golden age of comedy. Make no mistake about that. You can find comedy everywhere. Maybe not on this channel, but you know, you can find comedy anywhere. Okay. Let's do the next show. Let's do the next story. This is a story that we have covered actually a couple of times, but it's now a thing. What is that thing? It's about the country of Greece. In Greece, unvaccinated older people now face monthly fines. Greece has imposed a vaccination mandate for people over age 60 as coverage remains well below, should I say, the European Union average, and recent spike in infections have sustained pressure on hospitals. Time and time again, you know, if you've tried to access a hospital, anyone here, at least in the States, it is difficult. When my girlfriend had COVID and she had to get some monoclonal antibodies, it was difficult to get done just because of the fact that so many unvaccinated people are clogging up the system. And in Greece, let's just get right to this. Let's get to the story. Athens, Greece. Greece Monday imposed a vaccination mandate for people over age 60 as coverage remains below the EU average, and a recent spike in infections has sustained pressure on hospitals. Older people failing to get vaccinated will face penalties starting at a €50, that's $57, fine in January, and followed by a monthly fine of €100, $114 after that. About 2/3 of Greece's 10.7 million population is currently fully vaccinated. The EU average is just over 70%. The rate of death and daily hospitalizations has increased following the recent spread of the Omicron variant, though pressure on ICU capacity has eased slightly. Health Minister Thanos, I'm going to butcher that name, Pleveris, said fines would be collected through the tax office with the money to be used to help fund state hospitals. Well, that makes sense, right? Because this makes perfect sense. If you are actively causing the hospitals to get jammed up, if you're part of the problem, then maybe, perhaps, definitely you should be paying a fine The age factor is important because of its impact on the public health service, Plevis told Private Open TV on Sunday. A vaccination mandate was imposed for health workers last year, and starting February 1st, vaccination certificates for adults will expire after 7 months unless the holder receives a booster shot. New infections sharply surged in early January and have eased over the past week. The mandate for over 60s was announced in late December, and according to government data, some 41.5% of the 530 people targeted by the measure are now fully vaccinated. Greece has the 7th oldest population in the world, as measured by the share of residents aged 65 and older, according to the U.S.-based Population Reference Bureau. You know, mandates work. We've seen time and time again that mandates, when enforced, will get people to do the behavior by and large. An example, at the job I work at, MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Sometimes I have to walk into MIT. Sometimes people in my company have to walk into MIT. They're not allowing anyone in unless you've gotten a booster shot. That's the official policy. And mind you, if you're living in the Boston area and you need a booster shot right now, MIT is like handing them out like hotcakes. No questions asked. That's what I've heard. Checking out the chat before we start closing up the show. But positive news for Greece. Job well done, Greece, in putting fines on people who are clogging up the healthcare system. All right. So John Christian says, I'm supposed to get an MRI once a year, but since COVID, I've only had one. Right. Yeah, exactly. All of these so-called unnecessary procedures, and of course, a lot of them are necessary, are just not being done, once again, because of the unvaccinated clogging up hospitals. Let's see, what else do we have here? Checking out the chat. Cat News is better than Fox News, referring, of course, to the halftime tummy rub show. I totally agree, Tesla Ranger. What's up, KCA Randy's? Glad to see that you're here this morning. All right, I think, here we go. Do European anti-vaxxers get their misinformation from the U.S.? I think it went global. I think that there is a global misinformation, industrial complex at this point. That's just my opinion. I have not seen the data on this. Blazing says, due to logistics and supply issues, I have an ear infection and the meds are unavailable. That is horrible because I've had ear infections myself, Blazing. And having an ear infection, at least in my experience, is horrible. I'm sorry to hear that. And paint dry. Jessi Bear says paint dry is better than Fox News. Yes. In fact, there was a study that shows that people who watch Fox News are actually more misinformed than if you weren't watching Fox News. So Fox News does make people stupid. And misinformation is universal. And John Hudson points out that Russian bots spread information. I totally agree with that. You want to watch a cat? You want to start closing up the show? Let's watch another cat video.
Minoshka, why have you turned to the vodka? Why, in these trying times?
If I was a cat, I would say, well, if there are trying times, of course you would go to the vodka. Doesn't that make sense? I think that makes sense. All right, everyone. Channel gets no ads. I don't put any ads here. I'm not going to have Amazon ads on this channel or other company. I'm just not going to do it. I don't want to, do that whole late stage capitalism thing or subject you to it. So once again, thank you, patrons. Thank you, YouTube members. Thank you, those of you who throw some shekels into the Venmo or the PayPal account. Links are in the description below, by the way. And here's my thank you video. I'm going to see you at 9:30. Hopefully, everyone, take care.